Hey guys, I want to welcome you to another special edition of Breakfast with the Banner. It's Friday, and we've got a very special guest with us this morning. Got Miss Geneva Malone, and of course, you know, this past Tuesday, our special edition of the Banner came out, which is special Veterans Day edition. And so during this month, we're going to be honoring our veterans, and we'll be having some videos up still through the month of November. And so we're here with Miss Geneva Malone, and many of you know Miss Geneva. Of course, she's part of the Rotary Club and has been so for quite a while. And of course, she's a staple here in our community. And of course, anybody who's met Miss Geneva loves her to death. And she's always smiling and just a bright light. And of course, we want to honor our veterans. And Miss Geneva is certainly one who greatly deserves to be honored for her service to our country and what she has done. Of course, she was part of the United States Air Force, and she was a Master Sergeant. Is that right?
That's correct.
And when did you serve?
I served from 1973 to 1976.
It's 1976. So that and what did you do when you were in the?
When I was in the Air Force, I was in what we call in the AFSC for information management, which dealt mainly with a lot of administrative responsibilities. And I worked at various levels in that because it was an administrative. I could move into various squadrons or different career fields.
I got you. So did you ever have to go overseas?
I did. I had the opportunity of serving 18 months in Athens, Greece.
Really?
At the Helena Air Force Base there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's really cool. I know we had, if you read the paper, we had Anthony Harris, and he served over in Germany. We had Sam Dunning, of course, he served in Vietnam. And so it's really, of course, Mr. Fawn. We had Dale Fawn in there. Of course, we all know his story. And so it's really cool. Not only, I mean, of course, you didn't have to really serve in battle, but just that experience, though, getting to go overseas, because not many people get to go to Athens, Greece. So that's an experience in itself.
Yes, it was.
And I'm sure you brought back quite a bit.
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Just the experience. I mean,
the experience in itself.
Sorry.
Fine. But just to experience the culture of another country, you know, and to appreciate how much we have here in the United States. You know, that was the biggest take from living there.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, things that we take for granted, you know, cost a lot to them over there.
Oh, yeah.
So
I know that's something when I was talking to Grant Dunning in an earlier video about his dad, Sam, that he talked about the refrigeration that they took for granted. And of course, when he got over here, the first thing he wanted was a milkshake, you know, because that was something that they took for granted. You know, of course, they didn't have it. They didn't have that technology. And but what made you decide to go into the military?
Well, actually, when I graduated from high school, I really wanted to go to a four-year institution. Of course, didn't have the money for that, you know, so I kind of settled with Drons Business College for a while, and well, that's not for me, you know. So the Air Force and actually the airlines were my next two choices, and I went and took the exam for the Air Force, and of course passed it. And my uncle Stuart, who was in the Army, and I talked to him about it. Of course, the time that I went in, as I said, was in April of '73. Is when I enlisted. It still wasn't a common thing for females. You know, in fact, a lot of the several of the bases I went to had not had facilities for single female.
Really?
Yes, because some of the career fields were still closed to female at that time. Women were not allowed in battle other than if you was in a nurse and a medical profession. But so it was quite an experience. It was quite an experience. I mean, interesting because I got to live off post. That's the expense of the government. And when you're young like that, you know, the whole concept of being able to be on your own but not cost you the money to do it, you know. You know, and that's what I tell a lot of young people today, you know, there's another way to be away from home and have that independence that you seek, you know. So for me, that was the epitome of being able to grow up without the expense of it all that
Right.
we experienced as adults.
Yeah.
So that was one aspect of it. Like I said, because of the basis that I was assigned to, and the fact that a lot of females were not um, permitted in certain career fields at that time. You know, depending
Right.
on the base, if it was SAC or MAC, you know, it's about the mission
Right.
of that base, and if it was in say if they was mobilized to go to
Right.
war, then naturally, you know, at that time
Yeah.
females weren't,
Yeah.
unless she was in those career fields. But yeah, so
Yeah. It's
yeah, McClellan was the same way. I was stationed in Sacramento at McClellan
Really?
Air Force Base for 2 years. And when I got there, I had to live in the guest housing for several months until they got a facility available just for females
I got
because
you.
they did not have it set up. You know, so that was kind of
Yeah,
nice. You know,
yeah.
having that experience.
I know that's really
going
cool
in.
because you graduated from Caldwell, right?
I did.
Okay,
I
so
did.
I guess right out of
Yeah,
school.
pretty much out of school. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
coming from a small town like this and going, gosh, I mean, I know growing up you probably didn't think, well, I'll go to Athens, Greece one day, and
No,
it probably wasn't even an aspiration to go to Athens, Greece. So
No.
just I think that it's so cool, and I admire anybody who has that drive to want to go, whether it's the Army, the Navy,
Mhm.
the Air Force, the Marines. It does. It takes a special kind of person, and I think we all know that it takes a special kind of person to do that, because I
Yes.
mean, it's just like the calling to be a nurse or a doctor or a school teacher. There's something in you, that drive that 'cause I don't
Yes.
think not a lot of people say, I want to go into the military, I want to go to battle, I want to, it takes a special kind of person to
It
do that.
does. It does. And it takes someone that has to have a commitment
Yeah.
and the heart for it, because it is there is an orientation point to it all. You know, you go from kind of having your way out here in the world to
Right.
somebody that's telling you what to do, when
Right.
to do it, and
Right.
oftentimes being young, that's not something we want to
Right.
happen. But so it does take a type of mentality for that. And of course, with the Air Force, you have to have. I don't want to say the Air Force testing scores
Right.
are pretty much. I think it's the highest in
Right.
all branches. So. That was another factor for
Right.
me, and I like the color blue,
Yeah, right.
I like the green for the money, but
So
I like
that
the
was a
color
plus,
blue.
right?
That was a plus, and the travel, the ability to travel,
Right.
And I found that in all the bases that I've been to a Navy base, I've been to an Army base, and I found that the Air Force facility was the better facilities, and I think anybody in any branch of service would
Right.
tell you
Right.
that the same thing. We just had better facilities.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
So I guess you went through basic training and
I
all that.
went through basic training, 6 week at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas,
Yeah.
and that was, I was kind of sporty type girl. I
Yeah.
liked playing
Right.
sports and stuff like that. We didn't have a team here during that time or
Right.
anything. Like, I think softball may have been the only thing that girls really had
Yeah.
when I was in school, but and maybe track. But I like playing basketball and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
it wasn't a difficult thing for me.
Yeah.
The adaptation to
You were
get
already
into
physical, right?
physically, I was fine. Just getting the mental set of mind
Yeah.
for the military.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
tell everybody, it's a mental thing.
Yeah.
It's a mental thing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because I know that the basic training really either makes you or breaks you, and I guess
Yes.
really it's probably what it's
Yes.
designed for, really, to see who can make it and who can't.
Yes, and
uh,
it's even more stringent, I think, today than it was when I went through it.
oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. I know.
Because we didn't train for ground defense, and now I think they do.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm sure, of course, a lot of these kids going into it, I think a lot of kids probably they need that. That grounding, I guess you would say, going into the basic training to get that discipline, and of course they've never had it, and then some of them, are coming out from mom and daddy, and that
Yes.
protection, and
Yes.
they don't know what to think, going into it. So it's a whole new world.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
And
But it's one that's attainable.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It is. It is.
That's why I always say it's a mind thing. You just have to put it in your mind that this is something that It's a temporary thing.
Yeah.
It's not a permanent.
That's exactly right. I mean,
you know,
we've all got to go. I think, like with any job, really, you go to college and you get that degree, and then you think you're going to go right into that executive position but
That's
you
not
got to
what
start at the
happens.
bottom,
Yes.
and that's what it's designed for.
It
And
is.
what did you train for? What exactly was it?
When I went into tech school, is when you said once I left basic training, I actually went to Chanute Air Force Base in Rantoul, Illinois, for weather observing.
Oh, really?
Yes,
That's
yes.
cool.
It was. But I mean, at that time, I didn't see the value
Right.
in it. So
Right.
I was probably supposed to be looking at the clouds and identifying clouds. I was playing with rocks on the roof. So I
Right.
mean, that wasn't where my heart was.
Right, right.
And as I got more involved into the classes and stuff, they kept, we need you in this career field and blah, blah,
Right.
blah. And, I mean, all of this is based upon your scores, okay?
Right.
So I went in open, so they placed me based upon my score into that career field.
Yeah.
To that specialty. But I wasn't interested. I wasn't committed like I
Right.
should have been, because I just was like, okay, clouds, okay, it's dark, it rains,
Right.
So hindsight's 2020. I didn't
Right.
realize I could be on TV
Right.
forecasting the
Yeah,
weather and all of
yeah.
this, or working at a air tower,
Right.
at the airport someplace. But I think what kind of deterred me more than anything was the fact that when they told me that you're the first person they come to if a plane goes down,
Right.
and I'm like, oh no, I can't do this.
Right. Right.
If something happened because I gave the wrong forecast, I couldn't have that on my conscience.
Right.
That it was my fault.
Right.
And we have to recognize what we can live with and what we
Right.
can't live with. So that was one area that I stayed the whole course and stuff
Yeah.
like that, and I just went to the commander of the wing, and I explained to him, I said, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't do this,
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I appreciate your honesty, but we really would like for you to stay. And I was like, sir, I can't. I mean, I have to live with myself, and
Right.
this is an area I don't think I can live with myself,
Right.
And so he let me, because I had went to business college. He said, well, this is not something we really do, but I see you went to business college, and it won't cost the Air Force any more money to switch you over to another
Right.
career field. So he allowed me to go to personnel and talk to them about another career field. So I was able to get into the information management.
Yeah.
It's now called the information management career field.
Yeah.
Because of so I didn't have to go to tech school for that. I
Right.
went straight to a permanent base assignment,
Yeah.
which was at McClellan Air Force
Yeah.
Base at the time.
Well, that's good.
So
though.
that was a blessing in disguise,
I'm
really,
sure.
because a lot of times kids that didn't do well in school and got washed out, or didn't do their best to stay in those careers, got bum jobs.
Yeah.
So I just counted all the blessing that I got.
Yeah.
I had the advantages that I had going in.
Well,
so.
I'm sure that, of course, they probably got to break you of those, and it's hard. I know it would be hard for me to get past I guess when you go out into the field and you're the one who has to call and say, this happened, and it's, to give the bad news. That would be hard to do. I know it would be hard for me to do, and to have that on your conscience
Yeah.
all the time. It's like, well, was it my fault?
Exactly.
It's like I said, it takes special.
It takes a special kind of person to be in those types of areas, and I just wasn't one for that.
Well, listen, you going into the military is, that's something I know. Of course, with my mother-in-law being a nurse at the hospital, the stories that that I'm sure she could tell. It takes a special kind. It's amazing to me. Here I am doing this with you, but the experiences that you've had, and everybody in the military, it's really amazing to me, the drive that you have to go and do that, just to even say, listen, I want to go into the military. And probably growing up and telling your family I'm going to the military, I'm sure that's probably the last thing that they probably wanted to hear. But
it was my grandmother, Geneva Boy, was my biggest supporter for it, and because she's always supported whatever I chose to do in my life, and so did my mother. you know, but I was kind of close to my grandmother,
Yeah,
and always,
yeah.
you know, but yeah, it was a different time with me going in. Like I said, it wasn't a popular thing for females,
Right.
and that's why I had to have a lot of talk with my
Yeah.
uncle before going in, and of course he clued me into who to get to know. You know, the
Yeah.
guys in supply, the security police, because these
Right.
are people you're gonna need
Right.
throughout your career. You know, and
Right.
stuff. So
Yeah.
I kind of had a good idea about what to
Yeah.
expect going in. You know, so
And
that
you
made
said
a difference.
your Uncle Stuart Boyd.
He
Yeah.
was in the army, and he went to Vietnam and
Yeah.
stuff. But
Yeah.
he's passed since, but
He was a great guy too.
oh,
I know. Of
thank
course,
you.
I went to school with Alicia and graduated with her, and of course, Stuart and uh, his wife, and of course, my wife used to work with Adrian,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, a while back.
Small
So
world.
yeah,
I
it
didn't know
is.
that.
It's
I did not
they're a
know
great
that.
family. So
Yes.
I know that's Stuart was he was a good guy too. So to have that influence there too.
Mm-hmm.
To guide you along the way, because not a lot of people have that either.
No.
That influence to guide them to
No.
say where, you know, this is what I want to do. Who do I go to? And some of them are just kind of tossed into it. And that's great that you had that influence there.
It was. It really was. I mean, it meant a lot to me to have that.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, after I went into service, you know, like I said, I was then doing the Vietnam period.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm technically a Vietnam era. I didn't go to Vietnam.
Right.
I was there during the era, and that was a whole different ball game.
I'm
you
sure.
Know? So, as I said, I was stationed at McClellan when they was just beginning, I think, to bring the troops back,
Mm-hmm.
and the protesting at the gates
Yeah.
every day, you know,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. It kind of dampened your spirits about it. You know, it's like, why are these people doing this? You know, we're doing something for our
Right.
country. We're representing our country, and we didn't understand all of it, you know. But
Yeah.
it was a job we had to do. We
Yeah.
had to deal with. It just kind of overwhelmed me that our own people
Of course.
was not accepting what we were doing.
Right.
You know, I mean, I
Right.
technically was not there.
Right.
You know, I was supporting it from the side of being stateside,
Right.
but I wasn't actually there. But it's just the idea of the number of men and women that were going to the war situation and how people felt about it back home.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that was the sad part
Yeah.
about it. But we moved on from that. You know, I did my part
Yeah.
in that aspect of it, and it was a learning experience.
Yeah.
You know, gave me a little taste for what it was going to be like if I
Yeah.
actually did have to ever get in that situation.
Yeah.
And of course, as I said, I did 4 years active. The rest was in the reserves.
Okay.
You know, so
Yeah.
I got out, came back here, went to school, Hopkinsville Community College, and signed up with the Army National Guard over in Madisonville.
So you just
That was quite a switch.
I'm sure.
I mean, there was no Air Force bases around
Right.
here, you know. So
Right.
I still wanted to keep that connection,
Right.
you know, because it's such a camaraderie
Yeah.
among military.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have to know you, but if you say you was in the military,
Your family.
You know,
yeah, that's
your
what I
family.
always hear. That's what I
your
always
family,
hear.
you know. So I did switch to the Army
Yeah.
for about a year, and then when I moved to Chicago, I reconnected with the Air Force
Okay.
reserves there and finished my time out
Yeah.
there. But,
Yeah.
and now that was a good experience.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I got to go to a lot more foreign countries through the reserve, actually, Germany, Italy, and so forth.
Really?
Yes, during our 2 weeks encampment. Yeah, some people don't realize that, you
Yeah.
know. For the 2 weeks, you go active,
Mm-hmm.
and I had the type of commander that we lived in a cold place, Chicago, so he always tried to pick warm places for us to
yeah,
train in
right.
and stuff. And we was gracious enough to be able to go to Germany and, like I said, Italy, some other
Yeah.
places
That's really
to
cool
train in. And
to go
some
to
other
Italy.
stateside places, Arizona,
Yeah.
California. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are places that I technically could not afford to travel if I
Right.
had to pay for.
And to get that opportunity.
And to get that
gosh.
opportunity,
Yeah.
you know.
I think that's so cool. I
It,
mean, just,
it was. I mean, I loved my experience in the military. I really did. I
Yeah.
think you can tell by the way
I
you
can.
talk.
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah, you're. Of course, I think it probably made you who you are today.
It did.
And
It did.
and I think that's something that you hear so much with. Of course, if anything you would tell young kids, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I think we all see it in the world, the climate that we live in today, the world that we live in. I think we see a lot of, not saying that all kids are this way because they're not, but you see a lot of disrespect and uh, kids just kind of, the younger generation, they don't have any direction and they don't know where to go, and they misguided in so many different ways. And that's something, of course, I know I graduated in 96, and of course it was something growing up then, we had that, I think we had that respect for people, and you just did what you were told. I can remember growing up, if you didn't do what you were told,
Exactly.
that's the way it was, and you loved everybody, you took care of people regardless. And I think it's something that's lost on our younger generation now.
It
And
is.
that's something I hear though with anybody who goes into the military, that they learn that the camaraderie that you're talking about, and family, and the friendship, and the respect that they teach you, and it lasts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and the saying is no man is an island, and you
Right.
find that out quickly,
Right,
because
right.
when you join the military, because it's a team effort.
It is.
Whatever you do, it becomes a team effort, and you learn that doing basic,
Yeah.
because we go in thinking, well, this is what I'm assigned to do, and I'm just going to do that.
Right.
Well, no, it's not how it works. I mean,
Right.
if you fail, the whole team fails.
Right, right,
So
right.
that was a learning curve.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, and the fact that when I was growing up, it seemed like all parents worked on one accord.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we don't have that today.
We don't.
We
We
do
don't.
not have that today. But at the same time, again, we go back to mentality.
Right.
The mentality of a person. So for me, it was easier because I was the way I was raised, to
Right.
go into respect, to listen, to follow directions, do what you're told.
Right.
Well, like I said, today that's not.
Right.
There's a lot of challenging
Right.
to that.
Oh.
Why I got to do this, and who you to tell me to do that
Right,
type of
exactly.
thing. And that's where the really the training has to start at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
It has to,
I
because
agree.
it can be overwhelming. I mean, when I was in basic, there was one girl who tried to commit suicide.
Really.
Yes, and it was sad.
Yeah.
It was really sad because it was nothing difficult.
Yeah.
And we kept telling her it's just a mind thing. Just, when they holler at you, they're not just hollering at you.
Yeah.
Just say, this is not just about me, it's the whole squad,
Yeah. Yeah.
But she couldn't, some people just can't deal
Yeah.
with it, like you said,
Right.
You have to have a strong mind
Yeah.
to handle the
Yeah.
military because of the nature of how you train,
Right.
and it may save you your life. That's the whole
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
I found out later on when the Air Force moved to ground defense, that even though I was in information management and never thought I was going to have to go out and train in the field
Right.
with the guys, well, I was in squadrons that did, so
Right.
that kind of put me in that
Right,
situation
right.
sometimes, And the first, we had what we call a simulated war game. And you actually go through the training of chemical gear and ground
Really?
defense, carrying weapons and all this kind of stuff. But it's a simulated game,
Yeah.
And I never forget the time we were sitting on a bus. It was a group of us. We was getting ready to, the troops were getting ready to move, and all of a sudden the lights went out. We had all our gear, chemical gear and all this, and had set up, and the lights went out, and the code came across the intercom, and next thing you know, the code was we needed to don our disaster gear, and just the boom, it was like a big boom, the fireworks started,
Right.
and everybody's stuff kind of just went up in the air,
Right, right.
So we're scrounging around in the dark trying to find our helmets, our gear,
Right.
because we've lost it
Right.
at that point.
Right.
And at the end of the exercise, one thing I realized is I've got to take this more seriously,
Right.
because we would have been dead.
Right.
We,
Right.
we didn't get fully donned in our chemical gear.
Right, right.
So everybody on the bus looked at each other like, this is no joke,
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was a switch for me,
Yeah.
because I was used to just standing around observing them out
Yeah.
there, opposed to being a part of something.
Right.
So I took it a little bit more serious
Yeah.
after
It really
that.
breaks you.
Yes, because as they said, okay, although you're in information management, and suppose you are in a wartime, you have to know how to protect yourself. You have to know what to do and how to do
Right.
it. So I kind of had to buckle up and take it seriously at that point.
I'm sure.
I never did before. You know, I was like, Air Force, go in, fly, drive, go. You know.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to go. That's what I thought. You know, I stayed behind and push papers or whatever. You know, backfield for the ones that did have to go or whatever. But
but your service in that area was just as detrimental to the ones who were out in the field. I mean, because it like you said, it all works, you know, together.
It's a team. It's a team. You know, if this falls through, it affects something else. And it's a domino effect. You know, so. And I did have the opportunity when the Vietnam War was still going on, and had the opportunity to work in command posts, and that was an experience that was unbelievable because I didn't realize, I'd never been in a command post, and how it was set up, and the messages come in. I had to scan those, and that was based on my clearance. You know, you have to have a security clearance.
Right.
So I had to scan those messages and so forth, and you don't have time to read all of it.
Right.
So I said scan just enough to know who to give it to.
Yeah.
I didn't want to know anything anyway.
Right.
But I'm just like, okay, this goes to transportation. This goes to, you know.
Right.
But that was kind of fun. But it's just all of them sitting around in a room, colonels and you know, officers. These are officers that has to stay on top of what's going on so they know how to move and stuff. So that was an experience doing that.
I'm
it's
sure.
cool.
It is cool. I'm sure.
Because I would have never known if I'd not been placed in that situation.
Exactly. Exactly. Do you still stay in touch with?
I do stay in touch with several people that I trained with. Was in the military with.
That's really.
But not. I thought it would be a lot more. But the ones I got really, really close to, we stay in touch. All the time. So.
And that's where the family aspect of it comes in. Because I know a lot of kids, of course, you know, they don't grow up with that family atmosphere, and then they get that when they can join the military. And I'm sure a lot of them look on their trainers and the ones who are above them as probably a father figure or a mother figure, and it probably really has helped them more to have that family bonding. And I guess you kind of look on the ones you were with as, I guess, your brothers and your sisters. And,
exactly.
Because you're with them. 24/7. So I mean, how can you not? So.
And I always knew they had my back. You know? They always had my back. You know?
Even if you don't get along, that's the thing, because we don't always get along in a family.
No, we
and
don't.
To have that, even if you don't like one another at a time, they still got your back.
But see, for me, because I was an information man, normally the first face they saw when they came into the unit was mine. You know, so I was the welcoming person and stuff. So, and I am a believer of what the Bible says. You have to show yourself friendly.
You do.
And they had to respect my rank. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I wanted them to feel comfortable around me. You know, because I was the first person that they came in contact with.
Right.
So that was pretty cool. And most of them, I have to admit, was guys. Because, like I said, the squadrons I was assigned to were typically squadrons that there was no females in.
Right.
You know. So all of them kind of embraced me as their little sisters.
Right.
And that was a good feeling. To know I got all these brothers, you know. And it didn't matter from what walk of life they came from, because that was the interesting thing, because you meet so many people from different backgrounds and places and so forth, you know. So that was pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
That's really neat. I know it's an experience. Of course, I've got a sister, and of course, you know, as you get older, your families kind of grow apart, and of course now I've been married 18 years now, and our daughter's getting ready to graduate this year, and of course it's just, of course she's the only child, so you know it's not, you know, to not have that, you know, it's really cool though. I mean, it's just to hear the stories that so many veterans have, you know, good and bad. I know when I was talking to Grant Dunning about his dad, he said when you come across a veteran and they have a story to tell, he said it's best just to shut up and listen, because you can learn You can learn a lot. You can learn a lot, and not even going to the military, you can get something from their story that can affect so many people. And of course, without you guys being in the military, you've protect our country. You've served, and it's. I know a lot of them. They probably want to stay under the radar sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like that recognition. They don't want to be the spotlight, but it's. I don't think you have any idea how greatly admired uh, not only you but everyone who served in the military are, because it's.
But for me, it was an honor.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
Because it just gave me so many different opportunities.
Yeah.
That I probably would not have had otherwise.
Right. Right.
Like I said, it was a time where my story is going to be different than anybody's.
Right.
I think, because of the time frame in which I went into the service.
Right.
And so forth. But through it all, I mean, the struggle was real for me because I was African American, and I was, in an era that was predominantly male.
Right.
So I had to fight.
Yeah.
And I don't mean physically fight, but
Right.
to move up the ranks.
Right.
Because their idea of women being in charge
Exactly.
it was different.
Yeah.
So I had to study hard and fight to move up the ranks like I felt I should.
Right.
And I did. And
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah.
And I just said keep reading.
And to be a part of that change, because I'm sure you just. No matter, I mean, you may look on it as being a little small part, but you were part of that change to help, change things for the better. To listen, no matter what race or gender, it's attainable for everybody.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's attainable for everybody, but you have to be willing to put forth the effort to attain it.
Right.
I was not one that took things laying down lightly.
Right. Right.
And I read my regulations to know.
Right.
They used to say, if you don't want somebody to know something, put it in print.
Right. Right.
So I learned that very early.
Yeah.
So I read what my rights were and how to maneuver in the right way, not just the wrong way, but the right way to maneuver.
Right. So.
And that's what life is. It's a maneuver.
Yeah. You've got to follow
the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it.
You're exactly right. You're exactly right. When you go against the grain, you're going to get some.
Oh yeah.
You're going to get some pushback.
Yes.
So just.
So.
That's what a lot of people don't want to do. They don't want to follow the rules sometimes.
No, I did a lot of praying. I'll tell you that.
Listen, I'm in the same boat with you. So it's. But if you were to tell any young kid, of course, there's a lot. Graduating, of course, every year that think about going to the military. If there was anything that you could tell a young child, not a young child, of course, a young adult,
at that point, yes.
thinking about going in the military, what would you tell them?
Well, I had opportunity to share my story with a couple of other females that went into the Air Force from here. That was Norma McGowan and Hunter was her last name. Okay, her name eludes me this time, but her last name was Hunter. Anyway, I shared with them that if you don't know what you want to do when you come out of school, if you have no idea which way you want to go, but you don't want to stay here, and you don't want to be under the umbrella of your parents, think about the military, because it affords them the opportunity to go into, as I said, that whole experience without a cost. You don't have to worry about paying your rent. You don't have to worry about where my meal, how I'm gonna get, where I'm gonna eat, my medical. All of these things that you have to be concerned about if you step out on your own, it's covered for you. Plus you get the opportunity to have a career. At their expense. I'm not cheap, but I'm about if I can obtain this without me having to come up with the money to do it. Because let's face it, not everybody have the money to do what they want to do.
Exactly. Exactly right.
So you have opportunity to get the training you need for a career. You have the opportunity to live a life comfortable life. And it may sometimes it's demanding, but that's life. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it. and it'll help you grow in so many ways.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll calm you down in some areas, and for those that's maybe a little calmer than most,
Right.
you know, they'll learn along the way
Yeah.
to be that voice for somebody else.
Right.
You know, I didn't always speak up for myself. Most of the time I was speaking up for somebody else.
Right.
You know,
Right.
so it wasn't always. It's no longer about it's no longer about you.
Mm-hmm.
It's about your fellow
Right.
man
Right.
or your friend or
Right.
you know, that's the camaraderie of it all.
Right.
You know, when you
Right.
see injustice or somebody not being treated the right way.
Right.
You know,
Right. Right.
some people don't speak up for themselves.
They don't.
You know,
They don't.
so.
Yeah.
I tell them, you know, you got a voice, use it,
You're right.
but use it the right way.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
when you train for success.
Right. Exactly.
Train for success. You know.
Right.
What is the song said? There is no failure.
Right.
You know, there is
Right.
no failure in God.
Right.
And God, I'm a Christian, so I believe that my path
Mm-hmm.
throughout my life has been already directed by Him.
You see, that's the way that, of course, that's the way that I am, and of course, it was later on, and I've shared my story with many people, but it was 3 years ago that I was called into the ministry to start preaching, and it seems like once I came to that realization, this is what God was wanting me to do, then it's just like your path is straight. You know, when you're doing exactly what, and that doesn't mean you're not going to have any bite back, because you're going to, and it's going to get. I was talking to a gentleman yesterday, and when you are on that path that you know God has put you on, and you're committed to it, it's going to be even harder.
Oh yes.
And and I think a lot of people, they don't want to, realize that, but it's amazing to me when you are committed to God, and there is no denying that, how straight your path will be.
See, He had the plan for all our lives.
Yeah.
It says in Jeremiah.
You just got to.
You just got to.
You have
stay
that
on
choice,
the course.
right?
Yes.
You have that choice to either follow Him or not. And
No.
if you're following Him, it's not going to be easy way. And He even says it's not going to be easy
no,
way.
it's not
It's going to be
easy.
even harder. But the path is great though. So.
It is, and then just recognizing, like I said, but God, I mean, it wasn't because I was the smartest person in the world or anything like that. It's why I've had the life that I've led so far. It's just, I prayed a lot and I asked for guidance.
Right. Right.
And He delivers. I know that.
He does.
He delivers,
yes, ma'am. He most certainly does.
So and he not only did He deliver in helping me to get to where I need to be in my life, but He made it a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't as stressful as it could have been.
Right.
Because like I said, the time I went in was very different than what it is now.
Right.
So it could have been a lot of anger and hurtful things that I would have been experiencing. But
right. Yeah.
He cleared the path.
You're exactly right. And he
went before me and cleared the path.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, I had some tough times too.
Yeah.
But
you got Him to rely on, so that's all that matters.
Yes. No.
Yeah. Well, Miss Geneva, I won't take any more of your time. I know you said you were nervous coming in this morning, and I think you guys can see she wasn't nervous one bit.
I was.
She's
did a lot of praying last night.
She's I know brightened my day today, and I know after watching this video, I know how could she not brighten your day as well by watching this video. Miss Geneva, I want to thank you again for coming in, and thank you for your service to our country and everything that you've done. And when you see Miss Geneva out and about, just go up to her. I'm sure she'll probably take a hug or two and flash that pretty smile that she has. And but guys, thank you for joining us this morning, and we hope you guys have a very blessed rest of your day and coming weeks ahead. Thank you, guys.
Chad, thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Thank
you.
you. We appreciate you coming in and just taking the time and again brighten our day, because you've done an excellent job this morning. You really have. You really have.
All right. I'll take your word for it.
You have. Guys, thank y'all. We'll see you.